All right, I guess we'll go ahead and get started here. All right, we are live everywhere. All right, so this is going to be end up on Twitch and YouTube as well. So if anyone is missing this, it'll be up on the various platforms whenever I get a time to upload it. But my name is Devitt, the president, I guess, of Memphis Game Developers, and we are this month we are going to be talking about Playfab. And Playfab is a game backend service powered by Azure, which Microsoft bought more than a few years ago, I guess 5-ish years ago. And it is basically the backend for a lot of major games, especially Microsoft and I guess now Bethesda games. Y'all use different features of Playfab for their multiplayer content. I know Halo is powered by their matchmaking system, Minecraft, and Sea of Thieves has the Playfab party chat and whatnot. And I just wanted to go through and kind of go through how Playfab can integrate into Unity and what we can actually do with it. So I guess the first thing to kind of go through is like the price of this and like how much it'll cost and whatnot. At first, it is free for up to 100,000 users here, and you can upgrade for, I think it's 90. It's all the free plan, and you have various limits for your different reads, writes, and storage for your items and players and stuff. The standard plan here is $99 a month, and there's a premium plan of $2,000 a month. There's also an enterprise plan as well, but that's something for when you get real big. Once you create a title here in Playfab, you can go into your settings here. I believe it's under title settings. And you have various settings here that you can allow like non-unique player names. So if you don't want to have to worry about somebody stealing, players' names and whatnot, or squatting on names, you can just have the non-unique names, and it will add. I believe it'll just add a little number after it, kind of like how Discord does it. That's this part right here. There's also some of the API features. These are the static IP addresses. Playfab has a REST API to it. So basically, you just point your system to these various IP addresses, and that's how you make the requests for the various systems here. You have the email subscriptions here for when you want to do email lists for new players and stuff like that. There's push notifications for mobile, Android and iOS. The limits here is kind of what I wanted to go through a little bit here. So this is all for the free plan. The catalog items are for your in-game items. We'll go over that in a little bit here. You have a total of 3,000 items that you can have in your game, 10 virtual currencies. Your individual players can have their own inventories that are stored here in the cloud as well. That's 1,500 items, which honestly is a lot more than I can think of to actually use. You have bundles. We'll go over that as well. That's just for more like in-game bundles, like for if you wanted to have like a new player bundle, and then charge like $5 for it, and then that can give players, starting items, starting currencies, premium currencies, stuff like that. There's custom data that you can have for your each catalog. The catalogs are kind of like storefronts, and also metadata for stores as well. We'll skip through some of these. You can have 300 different statistics. Most everything in Playfab is stored as key value pairs. So your key will be a string, and then you could have a certain a string for the actual value. A lot of this will just be stored like as JSON data that you can just parse in your games. There's news articles that I think we'll have time to show you that. There's a 10 limit for your news articles. So when you first open up the game or your launcher or whatever, you can have different news articles show up, kind of like a blog. Also for the email templates, you can have like retention emails. So if a player hasn't logged in a month or 3 months or whatever, you can automatically send them, templated email to say, hey, don't forget about our game. The cloud script is used for, I believe it is JavaScript, to just run various little functions in the cloud that you don't need a full-on server for. You can also have full-on builds of your games that will run in the server, run in the cloud, and also you can spin up new servers for when like a new match gets made. You can spin up a server dynamically to facilitate that game. For the free service here, you get 75,000 server hours, which I believe is a full month per core. I believe this is for a full server running, which is pretty good. PlayStream is kind of their event system, so you can have different actions and whatnot in the game that will trigger these events that you can listen to and actually trigger other items off of. I think we might be able to see some of those in action here. And of course, there's all analytics and stuff. Your data storage is not as much as I would have thought, but this is just some of those key value pairs, like how many you can have, what the value of the data of those key value pairs can actually be. But this is separate from like an Azure data store, which you can still use, and if you have a separate database, you can connect to that through Azure, but that's not Playfab. All right. There's groups. So groups here are like guilds and clans, but it's also used in like party chat. So when you have your matchmaking group made up, you can put your team on one group, the enemy team on another group, and so that way you can chat with your team, and the other team won't be able to hear you. Then we have items, blah, 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 matchmaking. So this is kind of important here for matchmaking. You can only create 4 per player, 5 per minute for tickets. So you can't spam the matchmaking queue and potentially cause like a denial of service attack. There is an update which is 10, I believe, 10 per minute, that you can query the ticket. So when you see for when a match gets made, you could only do that once every 6 seconds. Then finally, the segmentation. The player segments can be geographical or for, say, like subscription purposes. So say you have a subscription for your game, you can segment out the players that have subscribed from the players that haven't. You can segment out, like I said, geographical, so you can have your North American players and your Asian players and European can all get different like newsletters, and even stores. They can have different prices for the different storefronts that you set up. All right, so the overview here just gives you more general analytics here that you would kind of want to see at a glance. So how many unique users you've had in the last, week to 24 hours, your logins, new users, purchases, how many multiplayer servers you have running, and more reports here. All right, so we'll skip around the dashboard here a bit. The first thing I want to go through here is the players, because this was the main thing I kind of wanted to use Playfab for when I first started looking into it. So your players here, this is one that I made, and I made a couple of more just to demonstrate like guilds and stuff that I don't think I actually did. But you can manually create a new player, which just gives them this unique custom ID. And also, there we go. So we have a title player account, which is per game here. You have your master player account, which is across all of Playfab. And then you have these identities. So these identities here are for different authentication services. Right now, it's just set up to have, like, you can have an Android or iOS device. There's also Steam and we can show you here these various platforms here: Google, Facebook, Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation, all the major services platforms. You can create add-ons for these integrations for you logging in, for in-app purchases, and I think matchmaking as well. So the other thing that players all have is, you can see the purchases. There's a friends list that I haven't actually made a friend, but there is the C# APIs for creating friends. We can search players. I think I made a Bob. There we go. So you can also have like there's leaderboards, and then you can have leaderboards of your friends for your different games. I don't think this ties into matchmaking just yet. We also have the virtual currencies. I've created like an energies currency, gold currency, and then gems that I was thinking of doing for like a premium currency. We'll get into the economy stuff here in a second. The bands, so that'd be the bands on the different players. So if you have your customer service team can ban players and unban them. You can give a reason, the duration and whatnot. Here, characters, we'll go over here in a second. But characters are kind of a sub database for your players. And we'll just hop into it. Your characters also have their own inventory, their own objects that are tied specifically to characters, so they can have their own stats, which you can add. Like you can have, we can just make this HP and make that like 100. Oh, it really didn't like that. HP. There we go. So now this character has HP of 100. I believe you can also export stats as a JSON file. I thought, but I'm not seeing that here. But they also have their own virtual currency. They have their own wallet and inventory and title data as well. So the title data is the character data, which is also just key value pair. There's a read-only data that the clients can only read, but they can't write to. And then there's internal data that only the server can have access to. So the clients can't even see the internal data at all. And also groups. So you can have the memberships of different what groups you belong to. So you can be in multiple clans, groups, chats, or whatever. The invitations to said groups, which are basically what you give out from your group to other players. You can invite them into your group. And applications is the other way around, where players can apply to join your group, and then you can, approve or deny them as you will. Then there's blocks, so you can block a group. So the inventory here is your player or character specific inventory that you can for in-game items. So I created some health potion, shield, sword, money bag, container, I believe that is. I guess we could just hop into items real quick. I think I can just... Here we go. Okay, so this is an example of an item that is in game, and it has the only required field here is just an item ID, which is a string that should be unique to this catalog. This catalog is just the test catalog here. I also made a catalog for characters as well. And so the health potion, it is consumable. So every time you consume it, it decrements its count by 1. And I made it so that it is tradable, so you can trade it between players. You can also give it a currency, so how much it actually would cost, whether it's energy or the gold, gem. The RM is real money. So if you want to actually sell this on a store for actual monies, you can do that as well. Just RM, and I think it's the amount I think is in pennies. And there's also custom data for items. I'm not using that right now. Interesting thing here is this limited edition. So you can make an item that is limited supply. So I can say there is only 1 health potion in the game, or most likely would be like 50 if this is for like a reward for like a tournament or a leaderboard or something like that. Like maybe even a Epic Quest reward can only be done so many times. So, like I said here, bundles here are just collections of items and currencies that you can unpack when granted. So these would be just a bundle in a store that you could have, like, 500 gold, health potion, and a sword. And when they buy the bundle, they just get that. They get the whole thing. So it'll be a single ID that you can use to request, and then this will have the actual contents of the bundle, whatever bundle you want. You can also add currencies here, whatever. You can also put in drop tables as well. So if you want like random loot boxes and whatnot, you can do that as well. So you can add a drop table, and we can have it like 10 items from this loot drop table, and that will be what you get. So if you have like a collectible card game, you could have a couple, or probably, yeah, 2 or 3 loot tables. You'd have one for like common cards, one for uncommon cards, and one for like legendary cards. So if you had a like booster pack that would give you, 10 cards, and one of them is, and guaranteed to be an epic drop, you just have an epic drop loot table in your bundle. So when they buy the pack, they get their 10 regular cards and 1 epic card. And containers are kind of the same, but containers can also be like in your inventory. So instead of just being in a store that you buy as a bundle, containers is just like a literal like chest or a loot box that you can find out in the world. You can pick it up, and when you open it from your inventory, then you get whatever is in the actual container here. I got this as a money bag that has 1,000 gold, and it is, stackable, consumable. You can also have it locked, so I can lock it and then have it can only be opened with a sword. I am not sure if the sword would actually get consumed as well when you unlock that. I need to look that up. But again, yeah, the drop tables here. This is just a kind of a standard loot table. You have your different items here, and each one has a weight. So I could have this as a weight of 10, and the rest is 1. So there's a 76% chance of the first one dropping, 7 point whatever percent chance for everything else. And stores. So the store is like it says, it's a store. So it's a shop that you can have various items in, which I don't think I even have this item anymore. So we can add stuff to the store. You set prices, and then this is where the segments come into play here. So you can have overrides for each segment here. So you can have, like, for lapsed players who haven't logged in a month or so, you can give them a discount for items to get them back into the game and hopefully spend money. Okay, so let's hop up to a little bit about the multiplayer. All right. So, in order to enable servers and matchmaking, you actually have to give Playfab your credit card information and whatnot. Once you do that, then you'll be able to add a new build for your game, spin up new servers, your virtual machines. I don't have anything active right now. The actual servers that are running, your total usage, which I haven't actually ran any yet. But like I said before, you get 750 core hours for free per month, and also 10 gigs of bandwidth as well, which is good for testing and running smaller games. So for matchmaking, I'll show you a bit of that when we get to the Unity part here. For matchmaking here, you have your different queues. So these queues would be for different things like for game types or for player counts. So if you wanted to do like a 4-on-4 matchmaking queue, you can do that. Or if you wanted to do, I think the max is 32. If it uses teams, yeah, it must be equal or less than 32. If you don't have teams, then like a free-for-all, then you can go up to 100 players. We can give it a name. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to save this. So the statistics availability to players, this is something that I like actually, and it will show you the number of players actually matching, and also the time to match, the average time to get a match. So this will let you know whether, kind of just the health of the game really, or that particular queue, that if there's a lot of people matching and a lot of people waiting or not. So you know not to waste your time for a match that might not get made for an hour or whatever. There is a timeout. I don't think it's here. When you actually go to create or look for a match, you can give it a timeout setting in the code. You can also enable server allocation, so if more people jump into your queue, you can spin up more servers. These are your teams. If you want to do teams, you can have more than 2 teams if you want. And also the rules. There's a lot of rules here that I have not got a chance to play around with too much. But these would be things like skill-based matchmaking. So if you had like an ELO system or a win-loss ratio, or just even team size balance or regional or something, so you can have just your EU players matching to each other, or just the North American players matching to each other, so you don't get somebody in Japan when you're in the middle of the country. Party is it's their chat service. It supports I don't actually see it here, but it does support text chat and voice chat, and this will let you group up. It uses groups to dynamically make parties as you match up. It does support Playfab, what is it called? Azure Translate. So for the text chat, it will actually translate to your local language in real time, which is super neat. It will do text to speech translations, as well as speech to text. I haven't got a chance to try that out, but I'll show how that actually works. There's a neat API for that. So groups here is, like I said, this is the kind of the guild system. So when you first create a group, which you can also do within your code as well, you give it an entity type. This will be the player. I think I can just, this will be the player or the character that is the administrator when you first create it. I think this will. Oh, it does by display name. Crud. Yeah, well. So this is me. You can see it by, I guess it's not by, this is my title, player ID here. I haven't done any invitations. This is the actual permission policy on who is allowed to, kick people and who can approve applications, send invitations and whatnot. Boop, boop. Leaderboards. So leaderboards are basically let's see if we can just make one real quick. I don't actually have a stat for leaderboard here. So you can create a leaderboard that will reset, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, or manually. So say we did a weekly leaderboard of kills per week, and you can aggregate it by the maximum. Right. So for something like this, what you would do is in your, that would be in, yeah, that'd be something for per player here. So in the game somewhere, you would have your statistics would be, one of your stats would be kills. And you would set this in game, and whenever you killed a thing or whatever, you could add a value to this. And then at the end of the week, your leaderboard will have, I don't know that will update, I guess it will. Sweet. So your leaderboard will have all of your players and however many they, ranked according to their kills. And at the end, you could have a prize table. So we can just make a new one. Doesn't matter. Most kills. And add context. So here is where you can get your prizes. So you can say from your top 10 can get a notification. So whenever this leaderboard ends, you'll send out either a push notification, an email, whatever. So we can do, say, an email, which I don't have SMTP set up, but that's fine. And we can say grant an item, and we can give them a money bag, and then we can give them 5 money bags. Okay, and then we can do like the next 10 or 5 or whatever, to do like your different ranks. And I guess the last thing to look up here is your title data. So this is just all of your specific, key value pairs for your actual game. So this is, I have here just a message of the day. That is just, a little string text here. But this can be whatever you want for your title, and it can. I forgot what the limit was. I think it was a megabyte of actual data here for per title for this free tier. So you could just upload your big JSON file of all of your title specific data. So this could be level data. This could be more character data. So if you wanted to add more playable characters, you could do that here. You can have each character be a specific key value pair, or you could just have a character data field, and then have a big long JSON blob of your entire like character database if you wanted to. There's also internal data here as well. This could be this actually might be a better place for your character data to be internal. So this could be just level difficulty and balancing stuff like that. So I don't have a. Why do I not have language set up? Bloop bloop. English. There we go. Title news. Okay, so your title news is it's just kind of a blog. So this would be a way just to update your players for different events that are happening or maintenance. So if you have a weekly maintenance or whatever, you can just add that here for your players to see when they open up the launcher or when they first log in. This would be a good way just to keep players informed. And you can also schedule it so it will appear when you need it to. There's also some email templates and push notification templates. I think this also includes. Yeah. So for your email, this also includes the account recovery and email verification. So when you log into when you create a new account, it will send an email to your players, to whatever email they set up, to verify their account, and also for account recovery. So if they forgot their password, you can send a recovery email to have them actually change their password and stuff. And then I think the same for push notifications. Okay, yeah, that's just the various Android and iOS payloads. So I think that's about it for the dashboard here. These are just your various analytics. I don't think I have that set up yet. But you also can have webhooks into different services. There was a tutorial on how to set up webhooks into Discord, so you can send a notification out to the a Discord server whenever something happens. So, in-app purchase or bans or whatnot can be easily tracked that way. I don't think I have anything else set up here for that. And I don't have any experiment set up. So this is where you can create like A/B tests and stuff for, if you want to just find out how well something works in your game. You can just say like, hey, give me like 10% of players can see this thing during this time, and then we can see how that actually works out for you. If these players are spending more money than these players, then that's something that you kind of want to know. Alrighty. Alright, so let's hop over into Unity real quick. Alright, okay. So I don't have a whole lot of fancy UI set up for this, but there is the Playfab SDKs are over on the Microsoft Playfab website here. I'll drop a link in the description for the SDKs. And also there's a Playfab editor extension, which makes it easy to set up your SDK here as an upgrade. So once you have the editor extension installed, you can go into the SDK tab here and install the SDK, set up your settings so you have your different studios, your different games, and the request type. Keep in mind as Unity web requests. This will let you see your different data. It's fine. I think I can refresh. Should be two. Ooh. It does have some tutorials here as well. All right. So let's just take a look here at actually logging in. So I have a Playfab login script here. So the first thing that you need is the using statements for Playfab and Playfab client. There's also a Playfab server models as well. Right now, I'm just using the client models for the most part, just because this isn't a multiplayer tutorial. So setting up clients and servers and whatnot is going to be a bit out of scope here. But so what we need first is what I made was a little delegate event here for firing off after we successfully log in. For all of the Playfab API requests, they all have a request struct here, and they all have a login, a success callback, and also a failure callback. So what I have here is the uh, player info request parameters. And this is basically just what you will get returned to you after you log in. I think I can look at here. So with every login request, you can get these this data back. So you can just get your inventories, your characters, your player profiles, all your statistics, basically everything that we saw in the dashboard for your player or their character. You can just get back at one time. You might not need all of this data. You might not even want most of this data at the time, but this is something that you could just get if you have, if you just want to get all this stuff up front when they first log in, because they might be on mobile and they might have spotty, network connection. And also just for data conservation, you can just get it all at once, cache this wherever. That way you don't have to keep pinging the servers for it. So what I like as well about Playfab is that it has an anonymous login function here. So what this will do is just log in with a custom ID. And this ID can be basically any string. I'm using system info and device unique identifier. This is good for like single-use devices, like for mobile and for consoles. If you don't want to actually have the player log in with a username and password every time, this is pretty good. This will give them a unique character or a unique player ID, and they don't have to actually type in username and password. For here, we have a create account. So this is what this will do is actually just create an account. If this custom ID is not found, it will create an account. And then these are the request parameters that we sent in earlier. I've also I haven't hooked this up to anything yet, but this is the create account function here. So Playfab actually won't accept a password that is less than 6 characters long. It'll actually throw an error message. So I just made this check here real quick and dirty here just to make sure that the player password is long enough. I think that's the only, there's not a complexity requirement that I'm aware of. So once you create register Playfab user, this request here, you have a user request struct here, which has a username, email, password. For the result callback, I just do it inline like this because I'm lazy and don't want to create functions for it. But you can get a session ticket, which is used for your server stuff, which you don't actually need for what we're doing right now. You can also just sign in with Playfab. So after you've created your username and password, you can actually just sign in with said username and password. And you can also sign in with an email. So if you just have an email and password, you can sign in that way as well. To send the password recovery email, you just send this API request, which gives the email, and you need the title ID, which is also in the here. This is your title ID. It's also on the dashboard. I believe you can get it from actually the login response as well. And finally here, I've got the login success. So this is going to be the callback that is called from each actual login. Callback is down here. And for here, you get the player ID back. You'll get an entity ID and so what I did here was part of the info results payload. This is part of the request that I sent in here. Get player data and also get player profile data. So down here is just me getting from the result the actual player data here, and also the title data, which was just the message of the day that I just throw into the what did I do with that? Oh, I just have it printing out to the console. And finally, I just I fire off the event for login success, and that way I can have other things like my inventory. I can have it listen for that login success, and then I can just get the player inventory at that point. Right, and I have character. Okay. One thing I forgot to talk about in the economy. So also the currencies here. So when you create your currencies, you can have an initial deposit, which is what every new player will get when they create an account, or when a character gets created. They all get this initial deposit. There's also a recharge rate for the different currencies. So for this energy, it will recharge 10 per day with a recharge maximum of 500. So it will recharge up 10 per day until it reaches 500, and then that's where it'll max out. I've got the initial deposit as 1,000, just for no particular reason. But it is technically possible to increase their energy above that initial deposit and above the recharge maximum as well. So for characters, this is kind of an interesting way that they've got characters set up here. You can create for an item, you can have it be a token for character creation. So this way you can have characters be an item that you can get from a drop table. So for like a gacha game or rewards or whatnot, you can create them and store them in your inventory like any other item. But having this token in your inventory lets you actually create a character here. And this is also being tradable. You can actually trade these characters to other people before, well, as long as you haven't actually created said character. So here, back in Unity and Character Manager here. So what I'm doing here is after we log in, the first thing we do is just call grant character to user, which is a client API that will take a character name, which is its this is the display name, and then the item ID, which is I think is unique here, and then the catalog version. And what this will do is this will consume that token and then create that character. And there's also, I just created this one just so you can see how you would normally go about just granting a character from an item. You would pass in its item instance, which is, you look in the inventory here. So each item also has an instance ID, and that instance ID is going to be unique to this this instance of this ID, of this actual item. Let's grant a character here. We'll just give it another fighter. And grant item. Okay. So I have this fighter here. It's now in my inventory. And so what I'm just going to do is, because this is the client API, it is just going to look at, well, it's going to attempt to create this fighter. And actually, we can just try it here. Okay, so here's our welcome message here. And if we go back to inventory and that fighter item is gone, and in my characters I should have a second fighter. I'm not sure which one was first. Maybe this one, but anyways. But again, it's got all of the starting virtual currencies and whatnot, so that would be basically how you create different characters for your players. The inventory works, I don't think I have this set up at all, but it works about the same way here. So I've got this set up as a singleton. So here, on after you get logged in, we're just going to get the inventory, and this will just grab all of the inventory for the user. You could also get character inventory as well if you're just dealing with different characters. And this is just going to dump it out into a list of item instances, and also my currencies, I dump that out as well. And then for my display, I'm just going to loop through all the different items. I'll instantiate a slot prefab that I also don't have set up, and then its name. For the grant item, it works almost identical to what the way the characters worked. So you just call, well, this is actually from the server. So the clients can't actually grant items to themselves, because that would be a bad thing to allow clients to do. Back in, actually you can see it here in Unity. Here in SDK, data tool, settings, API. So here you can enable the client API, or you can enable the server API. So if we were to make this our game server, you would want to make sure that just the server API was checked here. And that way they couldn't. You know. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now for like if you were to make this a server, only your server APIs would be working here, and the opposite for the clients. So, oh yeah, that broke everything. There we go. So for something like grant item, this is something that you would only want on your actual server to be running. But for your characters as well, you could actually, there's a server API for granting characters to users as well. So for granting items to users, you just give it the item. It's a list, so you can have multiple items. The user that these items will be going to, and basically that's it. The results. You'll just probably want to log that out somewhere. To actually consume an item, like a health potion, you just give it the item instance. This can be done from the client. I wouldn't worry about that too much. And yeah, you just give it the actual instance ID, how much to consume, and then you can refresh your inventory. The last thing is the matchmaker and party. So the where did that go? I really didn't like that. There we go. So the matchmaker, what you'll need is the various queue names and your ticket, and actually there's a coroutine there as well. So when you start matchmaking, what you'll do is you create a matchmaking ticket request. You give it to the creator, which will be whoever is party leader or host, or however your architecture is working. You'll get a new entity, which will be like your own entity ID, because you're starting the matchmaking. You'll be the owner of it. You can give it matchmaking player attributes. So this could be something like display name or IP address if that's what you need to get your players to connect. This could also be other stats. This could be your ELO rating. This could be your ping time. Anything that you need the matchmaking system to know about and give to other players. That'd be something that you could put here. None of it is required, so that's why it's empty here. You have a give up time, so if you don't find a match within 2 minutes for here, it will give up and you'll get an error. So here, after you create the ticket, then you actually have to poll it. So what I'm doing here in this coroutine is we're just going to poll it because you can only poll 10 times a second. So every 6 seconds, it's going to see if we got a match. And then if we get a match, then we'll start the match. And then starting the match is also it's a multiplayer API get match request. And this will actually create the match. So the Playfab system will know that the match has started, and it'll also have like the number of players in it, so you can have people joining in mid-match if you want, or block it if you want as well. So this would also be the point where you actually create your server on whatever networking stack you're using. I've been messing around with the ML API, and that's something I might do later, maybe next month. We might start multiplayer stuff again. But yeah, so at this point, your match is created, and you have a list of people in your match. And for right now, I'm just dumping all that out into the console here, so it'll tell you what your members are. And the last thing I want to look at is the party stuff. So this is a separate Playfab Party SDK. I think here that this should work. Maybe. We'll see. So, okay, so we got logged in. I believe this is just using a random custom ID here. Then we can create and join a network. So this is separate from the multiplayer API. So there we go. So we've joined a network. This is the network ID. And I don't know if we join. Okay, I need a second client. I'm not going to do that. So this uses playfab.party. So what this is going to do here, it has its own singleton here for the multiplayer manager. What it does real quick is it just creates a new login with custom ID request, which is just a random value. And so every time you actually run this, it'll actually create a new user for you. And then it'll just log in with that custom ID. It's got a couple of callbacks here for on network join, data message received. And here, it will call the join network. This is, so this will populate that with your network ID text. And I think what it was supposed to do is, so on network joined here, these are actually how the party sends data back and forth. So there is, we can just look at here. Here. There is normally what you would end up doing would be sending a chat message or sending chat message to all. There's also just send message and send data. I think send message is just a string. And an object, I guess, as well. But generally, what you end up doing is just for text chat. You just use send chat message, send a string, and also a list of Playfab players or who you want to actually send it to. And that can be for like your team group or the game group or your guild, or you can do whispers and whatnot as well. So yeah, so we can just do like send a chat message to all players, and then this will just be a string. And then that will just send a chat message, which is also I believe there is a on chat message received. Oh, that's a thing I can. Oh yeah, you have to. You can subscribe to it as well for and on chat message received. So yeah, you can just do that to subscribe to whatever on chat received. Yeah. Then generate it. Yeah. So on chat received, we get the sender. We get the from message, the string, and the message type, which I believe is yeah. So here's the different types. You can text, speech to text, text to speech. So yeah, that's kind of how party works. You can also you can send, like it says here, just any data. So anything you can get into a byte buffer, you can send it along. And I think that is about it. Was there anything else? So the leaderboards here to update your player statistics. It's a player statistics request. You give it a list of any of the statistics that you want. Like we can have this to be our kills. And we can add as many of these new statistic updates that we want. Actually, I think not as many. The limit, I think, is 10. I believe it's 10 per request. So if you have anything more than 10, you might just want to roll that up into a JSON object and pass it up that way. And then for the leaderboards, we can make that skills and we can see how that looks. Maybe. Oh, that's not gonna work. Let's see how this works. And then we'll stick it onto And then if we just go, where's board? I get. See how this works. And then this should dump that into the console here. Maybe. Yay. So this got me the rank, which is the first rank, my name, and my actual score. So that's cool. Oh, hey, and also I tried to call the grant character item, but since I didn't have that character token in my inventory anymore, it told me that I did not own that item. So cool. So yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. So if anybody like has any questions or whatnot, just either drop it in the chat or drop it in the comments below, and we'll see if we can get to it. Anybody listening live have any questions for it?
I don't have any questions, but I think that was a really good presentation. I want to thank you for giving it.
Not a problem.
Yeah, thank you. How new is Playfab? How recent did this get released?
Oh God, Playfab's been around for a long time. Microsoft bought them like in 2015, I think, and Playfab's been around for a lot longer than that.
So is Playfab is it like a plugin for Unity? What is it?
It has a Unity plugin, but it is it's run through Azure, so it's kind of just a backend like Amazon Web Services and whatnot. So it's all the multiplayer services, live ops, analytics thing. We've got where is I had a there was a thing where it was like all the games used in Playfab. But yeah, it's just a cloud service for games.
Because I know you mentioned ML API earlier, and I was also messing around with it, and it's nice to see that there's actually a good free way to do matchmaking. Because I think that was one thing that people were kind of concerned about with ML API not having.
Yeah, Unity used to have a matchmaking relay server for their like UNet years back. But yeah, this is kind of. I mean, they have multiplay. I think is what your Unity bought a year or so back. But that's really more for like enterprise level stuff. They don't let us plebes mess with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to get deeper into Playfab because the multiplayer stuff is what I wanted to dig into. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we will just call it here. And thank you guys for joining us. And we'll figure out what we'll do for next month. We might dive into the ML API stuff.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thanks again.
Yeah. All right. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
You too. Also, nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Bye.